So I was out wheeling the bike, got in deep water, and of course got the clutch wet because of that freaking exhaust vent. Let me turn the light on here. Hang on. There we go. Anyway, so the stock 950 exhaust ends right there. That's where it ends. Just above here. They got it sort of blowing the heat off the exhaust out the back. It's good, right? It is keeping the heat out from the engine compartment and blowing it back, but if there's any source of water, around the base of the seat, it's going in the clutch. And it's not bad if you're in just shallow water and that, but the worst part about this is I'm going to say that this bearing here on this clutch, these little bearings in here are like a zero tolerance, like zero water, zero anything. They got to be clean. That's it. It's almost like the water touches this bearing once, it's done, taking it apart. That's no good. And when this bearing's done, you see lots of videos, you got a constant squealing and the belt system just constantly driving. You can't shift it. Something's gone wrong in there. So I had to do something while I'm in here. So I had no cold air intake off a Fox body Mustang, and this is the throttle body side, and so this is as far as I gone with it. Got that in there over copper. I was able to this silicone band formed itself to the oval of the factory elbow, and as I tighten this, it starts to force this round, which was really tightening up the seal around here. I'm going to soap and water this thing after I get it running again, make sure there's no air bubbles coming out, leaking. If I have to silicone it, I will. But I have that tube is going all the way up. It's hard to see. You can see it's all the way up to here inside, and there's the air box. So this is where I'm going to stop right now. I'm not going to finish here because the heat's going to accumulate up inside of here because there's no way for the heat to get out. But I'm going to stop there for now because I got new plans. So when I got into that water, it was deep. The exhaust was under, and I would say that water line was about here. It was, over my lap in the seat, and I don't plan on going in anything any deeper than that. And I plan on going up a size in the tires. These are 32s. I want to go to a 34. So this is the intake right here for your CVT, right? Brings in the fresh cold air into the clutch system, and then it spits out that exhaust, which was too short. And then this side here is strictly engine. It's got the frog skin on it. This is the intake for the engine. This one here was scaring me a bit with the water being that close, because if I had a reverse and I had a bit of a wave, it's going to come up and get into here, and eventually it's going to fill it to the point it start drawing moisture, drawing water into the actual air box inside the engine compartment. And so that hose behind here, it runs across and goes into that air box, and it's basically goes in on a 90-degree angle. There's no spiral effect to it, and then it starts shooting air at the side of the filter where it's supposed to draw it down into the throttle body. So it's got a bit of a strict angle where it comes in, stops through the filter, and then down into the engine. So my plan is here, why not run these outer, I'm going to call them snorkel cones, why not use both of them for the clutch? I think that's the way they should have done it. I think they should have made one for the intake for the clutch over there, and the exhaust side over here for the clutch. And then they should have done a separate I'm going to say cold air intake that comes up for the engine and had a breather at the top. So that brings me to my next point. So I plan on using that extension pipe I have on the exhaust side, coming across, joining it into the 2.5 inch that's on the original intake, and I'm going to remove the air box completely in there, and I'm going to put a hole. I'm going to put a 2.5 inch to 3 inch hole in this cover, and I'm going to come up to a snorkel hat and it's going to contain a cone filter as well as it being covered, so if there's any splash it's not going to get on it. If there's any sand or dust particles flying around, it's not going to land on it. It's going to breathe from the bottom of the snorkel hat, and I'll be able to service it right back here. And to top it off, we're going to have direct ram air straight down into the throttle body with no restrictions whatsoever. And of course I'll be able to make some plumbing for the crankcase ventilation and whatever else needs to go into it. But there's enough room there that I can put a decent sized wide filter. Even if I got to put an extension pipe and come up a little bit higher and mount a filter here, it's still going to be alright, because it's going to get fresh air. It's going to be up nice and high. You're never going to worry about hydro locking the motor. The hot air is going to be blowing out of this side for the clutch, plus running down the trail. Just the air passing by this cone is going to create a vacuum, will help pull the hot air out. Worst comes to worst, these covers here that I'm going to be hacking up and cutting up, they're only like 16 bucks. And as you can see here, a rear window, and you can't even service the factory air filter. You pretty much got to pull the window out to do it. So that's another factor, is we're going to have accessibility to the air filter sticking above this cover anytime you want. You can look at it, you'll know exactly when you got to clean it, and go from there. So with that information, I'm going to start running some pipes across. Unfortunately I got to pull all the plastic panels out of this thing to get at it, and at the same time I'm going to bring in all the vent lights for the diffs, tranny, engine, everything else, and bring it up higher, because like it is what it is. The trails you run them, if it's a rainy weekend, your puddles are getting deep, and you know, you just hammer down and go through them, and there's no reason why this bike can't make it through. The only thing holding it back is that clutch setup, letting the water get into the clutch case, and then you're done. But I'll get some progress and show you guys some more.